because it's different. This is different. And yes, we're recording in case you haven't ticked. Yeah, just on another note, we are recording this. So if you don't want to be on camera and you don't want any of this information to be, any of your images to be used in our PR side of things, so please stay off camera. Anyway, want to say welcome to Speechcraft. This is a special Speechcraft. And the reason it's really special is because it's been totally dedicated to sustainability. And there are so many things happening in this space in sustainability. You've got COP27, you've got TEDx that's completely dedicated to sustainability. And this is our space, if you like, in Toastmasters, where we're dedicating to building speakers in sustainability. Can I ask for you guys to go on mute, please? Because there's a lot of background noise going and it's quite disturbing. Okay, so just to share with you the actual, what our aims and objectives were 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago, we thought what we want to do is build speakers in this space so people feel really confident about speaking with purpose in their communities, in their corporations, and to listen to each other and to create stories. So that was our basic mission, if you like, and to create, as in the Toastmaster space, a safe space, so where we can all practice our speaking skills and really hone them in and get evaluations. So every week we've done something a little bit different. We've actually had speakers who we've taken public speaking from every angle you can imagine, all well known to the Toastmasters group. So we've looked at structure, we've looked at delivery, we've looked at voice, and tonight is no exception. We've actually got another speaker who'll be talking about rhetoric. So important, the art of rhetoric, the art of persuasion. How do you persuade people to think differently, act differently? So tonight we're going to hear a speech from Guy a bit later on. And every week we have split ourselves into 3 groups. We've had the community group, the tech group, and the polymer group. So tonight you are going to hear 13 different speeches. So stay tuned and you will learn so much about sustainability. And I'm really looking forward to listening to all the speakers. To keep it short, we asked each speaker to speak for 3 minutes only. Now, for the experienced Toastmasters, you know how difficult it is to create a message, a speech in 3 minutes. So that was a challenge set to our speakers. So tonight, the structure is like this. We have 13 speakers speaking for 3 minutes each. And we have an education slot, so you will learn about rhetoric. And our agenda is split into 5 sections. We have 5 speakers, we have 3 speakers, sorry, let me start again. 4 speakers in the community group, 4 speakers in the technology group, and 5 speakers in the polymer group. And tonight's section, tonight is all recorded. So to set the evening off, we are going to have our first educational speech, if you like. And to introduce the educational slot, we have a very special lady who I'm going to hand over to you in a minute. She was an evaluation champion. Now, to be an evaluation champion, you have to be a really good listener. And she was also in 2021 an improv speaking champion, again, to speak off the cuff and to structure speeches really quickly, really difficult to do. So well done. And she also helps our TEDx speakers. So if any of you are thinking of developing a TEDx speaker, becoming a TEDx speaker, so you know who to call. So I'm going to hand over to Lisa Marie Gallas. Please give Lisa Marie Gallas a big hand. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kavita. I'm so excited to be here. I love this group of people. I love the topic that you're talking about. And I am so excited to talk to you tonight about our educational speaker. He's Guy Doza, and he is English, which means he speaks English better than I do. Yes, absolutely. And tonight he's going to talk to us about the art of rhetoric. And you're probably wondering why such a young, attractive gentleman would know anything about the most ancient trade in the world, which is rhetoric. Trade or art, as you will. Well, I'll tell you why. Starting in 2017, he was the D71 champion of humorous speaking. So at least we won't be bored this evening when he talks about rhetoric. He's a professional speechwriter, so he really knows what he's talking about. And speaking of TEDx, in 2019, he spoke at Cambridge University with a speech that was called Defense of the Dark Art, about rhetoric. So aren't we lucky that here he is with us today? And in September of this year, Canterbury Press released a new book, which, by the way, I bought this afternoon. I haven't had time to read it yet, but I will, I promise, Guy. And it's called How to Apologize for Killing a Cat. I think I'm going to like it. And I think you'll like it too. That is, unless, of course, you like cats. That would be a reason to not like the book. But I'll let you know after I've read it. He's dedicated this book to his family, who he confesses have helped him practice arguing his entire life. Ladies and gentlemen, friends across the world, please welcome with a huge deaf applause, Guy Doza. Thank you, Guy.
Wow, what an introduction. And being put on the spot with a master evaluator only makes it even more terrifying. But I'm going to give it everything that I can and see what we can do in these 5 to 7 minutes. One of the things that I want to make absolutely clear, my book does not endorse felicide. So if you're a cat lover, you can still read it. It's not actually saying that you should kill cats. It's not called How to Get Away with Killing a Cat. It's called How to Apologize for Killing a Cat. And the reason it's got that title is because apologizing is one of the most difficult persuasive things that we have to do in society. When we've done something wrong and we have to own up to it for it, and we have to explain to someone why we're sorry, we then start deploying rhetoric. So what is rhetoric, you might be asking yourself? Rhetoric is a bit like the theory behind speeches. So you guys, having done Speechcraft, probably have learned an awful lot about how speeches work. I understand you've looked at structure, and you might have looked at composition. So rhetoric is a bit like the tricks and the tropes that you're likely to use in order to make your language more effective. So for example, if you had a sentence and then you restructured that sentence so that your emphasis fell on a specific word, that will be an example of rhetoric. If you use some form of repetition, that could also be a use of rhetoric. Or if you simply bolstered your own credibility in front of your audience by talking about all of your achievements, that is also a use of rhetoric. So rhetoric can be how we present ourselves to the audience, but also how we use how we use our words. And Lisa rightly said, it's one of the oldest professions. It's actually the second oldest profession. There's one that's older, and you all know what that is, and I'm not going to talk about it. But speechwriting is the second oldest profession. And one of the things I find really fascinating about rhetoric is that it hasn't really changed much. If you think about it, I know we're on Zoom, but 2,000 years ago, when someone was giving a speech, you would have one person stood up in front of an audience speaking. Thousands of years have passed, literally. Huge industrial revolutions have happened. Society has changed in more ways than we can count. We've had the technological revolution. Yet what do we as human beings do? We automatically go back to the same situation we have before. We have one person stood in front of a group of people giving a speech in exactly the same way. And when we can't do that, we go to online. But I'm sure many of you would agree that in-person speeches have a different effect. So rhetoric's been around for thousands of years, but what's an actual example of rhetoric? So the three branches of rhetoric, the most common things that you'll hear people talking about are called ethos, logos, and pathos. Has anyone heard of these? You can give me a nod. You're like, yes, we are experienced Speechcraft people. This is week 6, we know everything. I'll give you a rundown just in case you missed it. So ethos is how you establish your credibility as a speaker. So whenever you're stood up and you're giving a speech in front of an audience, they will have a perception of you. You will then use your words to try and manipulate their perception of you so that they view you the way you want to be viewed. Sometimes you might want to come across as a sort of like thundering, powerful speaker who knows everything that they're talking about. And other times you might want to come across as being a little bit humble, a little bit modest, because it works in your advantage to come across that way. So whenever we're speaking, we have to ask ourselves, what is the most effective ethos for that audience and for that message that we're delivering? And I think it's very important that every single speech that we give has a very clear message and a very clear objective. Your message is, what is it that you want to say? Your objective is, what do you want to happen as a result of the speech? Odds are, if you don't have a message and you don't have an objective clearly defined, you're not going to give a very good speech. You're going to waffle. You're going to go on tangents. And that's when you lose an audience, because giving a speech is a really hard thing to do. Actually hooking an audience's attention and keeping it, even for 3 minutes, is incredibly challenging. And that's why when you're writing your speech, you need to properly scrutinize every single paragraph, every single sentence, every single word, and ask yourself, how does this help me meet my objective? How does this communicate my message? And if it doesn't, you need to think about getting rid of it, because it's just waffle. So that was a little bit of an introduction to ethos. Logos is simply when we use logic in our speech in order to make something more persuasive. Doesn't necessarily have to be true. I could tell you that actually 96% of the most successful speeches all use logos. The ones that don't are bad. I've just made that statistic up as an example, but that would be a use of logic. And one of the things that's really interesting, especially in the modern world of fake news, when Twitter, especially now that Elon Musk has taken over, spreads lies faster than we can extinguish them, logos is incredibly dangerous. And we have to think about how we use logos in our speeches, but in a way that makes us seem reasoned, calm, in control. The third one of those was pathos, which is our use of emotive language. So when we use pathos, we are trying to elicit an emotional response from our audience. Maybe it's humor, maybe it's sadness, and we use certain rhetorical features to do that. One of the most common rhetorical features that we have is called a tricolon. It's quite simply when you structure something into 3. So these are all examples that I've used in my book because I like them. But the first one that I'm going to share with you is of Julius Caesar. He said, I came, I saw, I conquered. 1, 2, 3. And you think he could have said, yes, I went and I destroyed everything in my path. That wouldn't have been recorded in the annals of history. The reason that that quote is so powerful and well remembered is because he structured it into tricolon. Abraham Lincoln spoke of a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Again, he could have said a government for everyone. But if he said a government for everyone, it wouldn't have been anywhere near as effective. If you go on the Walt Disney website, you will, or it used to be the case, I think they've updated it now, is Walt Disney Florida. The first thing that jumped up to you were something like 2 theme parks, 4 water parks, endless magic. So it's another tricolon. And my favorite example, if Mickey Mouse and Julius Caesar haven't convinced you, is from the British industrial giant that is Anne Summers. I'm sure some of you know them. You can see some very, some very happy looking ladies. Yes. So Anne Summers described their 7-inch vibrator as being smooth, sleek, and multi-purposeful. You got another tricolon in there. So tricolons don't only work in speeches, they also work in marketing. So if I said to you that I listened to a really good speech recently, it was dynamic, it was thought-provoking, and it made me question my view on tricolons. I've just said it was dynamic, whatever words I used. I used 3 words that mean essentially the same thing, and that's another rhetorical feature. It's called abundantia. So what I'm trying to get at in this, and I'm going to use my last 10 seconds to summarize, is rhetoric is huge. There's so much rhetoric out there. It's absolutely everywhere. It's such a fun and exciting world. And I think we should all engage with it a bit more, because not only does it help us with our speeches, it's also really good fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Guy. That was brilliant. So the second time I've heard that speech, so thank you very much. And I too have bought the book, and the reason I bought it was because it's rhetoric to me was quite scary because I couldn't understand how it's all broken down, but really well broken down in this book. So thank you. There's a little plug for you, but I honestly mean it. I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. So now we're going to have a 1-minute silence for our evaluator. Dory, come in 1 minute in the clock, please. Can I assume that's 1 minute? Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to segment 2. Thank you, Dory. I wasn't sure if it was working, the timer. Thank you so much. We're on red. Right, let's move on to segment 2 of this meeting. Now, segment 2 is going to be run by an MC. So segment 2, remember I said we had 13 speeches at the beginning. So we have split our speeches into groups. So our first group is called the community group. And this will be run by our MC. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about this MC. She's been a Toastmaster since 2014. She's also a filmmaker and a YouTuber. She's a presenter and a producer of the talk show For Talkers. She can never say no, but I'm so glad she said yes today to be the MC for the community group. So please welcome Moira O'Brien. Moira O'Brien, welcome.
Thank you very much indeed, Kavita. It's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to see the results of 6 weeks of really interesting speeches about sustainability. And we're going to hear maybe the same speeches again, maybe new speeches. Whichever it happens to be, I'm sure you're all going to enjoy. So let's dive straight in. And our first speaker from the community group comes from Valencia in Spain and is passionate about ecology and taking part in local environmental associations. She's now involved in an organic food initiative. So with her speech entitled, "Let's Talk About Real Food," please welcome Carmen Castells.
Hello, everybody. I'm talking today about a topic in which I'm very concerned. So I'm going to talk about what we eat and how can we improve it. So every one of you eats 3 times a day, right? And every one of you, I imagine you have a doctor, have a dentist, you have a lawyer, an optician. How many of you, as a farmer, you can raise your hands? Oh, Shirley is raising her hand. I can see you all, but yes, I imagine some of you, maybe you have, some not. So I repeat what I said. We eat 3 times a day. So it's important, right? Do you agree with me? So with the current model, we can go to the supermarket and buy maybe a pineapple from Costa Rica or an orange from Morocco. And if we think about it, it's just mad. So in this situation, first, it's not good for you because you don't know the chemical products that has been used to produce it, and it's affecting your health. Second, it's not good for the society. Have you thought about the workers' condition? Third, it's not good for the planet. The massive production of food is affecting the soil, and the food traveling, it has a direct impact on the climate change. The good news is that there are solutions. So I encourage you to explore by yourself the options you have in your area. And I give you some ideas. First, you can read books or you can watch documentaries. Second, you can look for local little shops that are in contact with local farmers and order your weekly basket of organic food. And third, you can look for local projects, local agricultural projects, and being involved in them. Now, to conclude, I would recommend you to start with a little action that you think that it's better for you and it's better for your life. And then you take another one, and step by step, you are going to improve the way you eat. And even in a future, you can have your own farmer, or even you can be your own farmer and produce your own food and have real apples that smell like apples, real oranges that I'm going to take just now. And I assure you that it's just fantastic. You will be more connected to the mother nature. You will learn about the crops, and well, welcome to the real food. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carmen. Local shops and local produce. I embarrass myself every week when I go to the supermarket and I look at the labels and I cry when I see the miles, the thousands of miles that my food has traveled. Can we have 1 minute silence, please, to give feedback to our speaker?
Moira, it's Kavita.
Yes.
Do you want to give feedback in the chat? What have you got in mind?
Give feedback in the chat, direct or generally.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Timer. Our second speaker from the community group is the founder and managing director of River Rye Consulting. With over 25 years experience in sustainability, supply chain, governance, and public-private procurement, she helps clients throughout Ireland to achieve the triple bottom line in their organizations. She's a lecturer at various universities, has delivered Ireland's first certificate in global trade compliance, and holds a Lean Sigma Green Belt. With a speech entitled Water-Stressed Countries, please welcome Rebecca Byrne.
Thank you very much. My network bandwidth is low, so I'll leave the video off. It's just to stop having in the middle of the speech. But thank you very much for the introduction, Maura. So my speech is around water-stressed countries. So for the last, those people in community group will have heard the last 3 of our sessions where I've started my speech going, it will rain tonight. And when I'm talking about rain, I'm not talking about how it's just good for the garden. This is rain where the government is actually providing warnings to say not to travel and that flooding will take place. This is the first time I can say it will not rain tonight because it rained so hard yesterday that Ireland's second biggest city is actually underwater at the moment. So what I'd actually like to take to the forum now, adding to the stories I've already presented, is one of the hardest things for us to portray in speech. It's how we perceive beauty in the environment around us. So when I first constructed my ideas around water-stressed countries, I was actually coming from a point of my own childhood growing up in drought-stricken California. And that was devastating. Total communities were torn apart as land really essentially blew away. And I come from a farming background. So it was a destruction of livelihoods and poverty. Now, a lot of people will go to California and they go, oh, it's lovely and warm here. But these are flying visits. They go, oh, it never rains. So it's a beautiful place to go and have a holiday because nothing is going to ruin it. But they can't move there. They can't set down roots. They can't create new communities. When I moved to Ireland, I was entranced by how green everything was. And that was fantastic because it does rain here. But then about 17 years ago, it rained so much that farmers couldn't get out into the fields. They couldn't plant. And they were calling me and they were practically crying that they actually couldn't fulfill their contracts to me. And all I could do was listen. So I have a different perspective on this now. It is likely that even with a limit to 1.5 degree target, part of the Irish coastline is going to disappear. And I'm still seeing the drought back in my homeland. So I think my call to action is that we ignore reality when we pay flying visits and falsely perceive concepts of beauty in the environment around us, such as the lushness of Ireland and the deep heat of California. And the human condition is to actually forget the disaster around us. So my call to action is that let's open our eyes a bit wider and see more than what we perceive as beauty in the environment, and actually take it as a holistic situation. And that's my speech.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Rain in
Thanks, Myra.
Ireland. Rain
As
in
you well know.
Indeed. But I think the point you made about the parts of the Irish coast disappearing, that's extremely relevant, especially in the county where I live, which is Cork, and our city of Cork, which is going to disappear. A lot of it is just going to disappear. Can we have 1 minute, please, timer, for feedback to Rebecca? Thank you, Madam Timekeeper. Our third speaker from the community group is the founder of Ecotourism Ireland, whose criteria was one of the first of 12 countries in the world to be recognized by the Global Sustainable Tourism Council. And she has served as a volunteer rep for Ireland for many years. She is a global leader and a recognized expert in sustainability in tourism, and has for years been active in many projects and organizations involved in tourism in Ireland. With her speech entitled Sustainable Tourism, Do You Make Sustainable Choices? Please welcome Mary Mulvey.
Thank you, Maura. And good evening, everyone. My theme of tonight is your personal choices of your holidays. And I want you to put your thinking cap of all the previous holidays you've taken in the past. We have a very sustainable audience. LOHAS in Boulder, Colorado is the lifestyle of the health and sustainability. And they estimate 25% of the people in the world purchase based on their values. So your holiday is recognized as in the top 3 purchases you make most years in your lifetime: accommodation, transport, and your holidays. And I'm hoping everyone here does take holidays, because it's the only thing we need in these bad times, be it from a recession point of view, climate change, and the type of work we live in. We all deserve holidays. But I want to ask you, what type of criteria do you use when you're picking your holiday? Is it an eco guide, an eco journalist from your favorite paper or newspaper? Do you look at the tourist board website of the destination you've chosen, or an ecotourism operator you're loyal to? I found my eco tour operator in 1999 on a National Geographic website and never thought I could find the type of holiday I wanted to take, which didn't involve beach, pools, or cocktails. G Adventures is that Canadian tour operator. I've traveled the world with them on very small tours that really are eco and sustainable holidays. But I maybe didn't see that in the light when I booked my first holiday in 1999. So sustainable holidays is something people don't think it is. We probably spend longer looking at your organic jar of tomato sauce in the supermarket every week for the whole year than you spend researching your holiday to see, is it sustainable? To see, does the company you book with have a sustainability policy or do anything that helps the destination? There are lots and lots of more sustainable ways to travel. I don't need to educate this audience on carbon-free transport and carbon-free holidays, but we need to go in this direction. So transport is the biggest source of emissions, 40%, and tourism plays a big role in that. Possibly, I've always managed to take holidays with my business, with travel, with work, with conferences, and sometimes that chooses my destination. But there's blue flags, there's green flags, there's white flags, there's lots of really good environmental labels that are there, and you just have to find out a little bit more about them. 99% of them came from very good ethical sources. I sat beside the guy who set up the blue flag from the fee agency in Denmark. So when you go on holidays, do you stay in an all-inclusive resort? If the accommodation is owned by a multinational? And do you really bring something to the local economy? Do you leave something after you? Do you bring your water bottle or your keep cup on that holiday? And don't assume any holiday you ever book is sustainable. We're all adding to the problems of the world everywhere. Ireland gets 10 million tourists, but you're a number in every other country too. So my closing statement is spend time researching your next holiday. Take less and stay for longer and be more sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary. Personal choices. Just remember that we're all responsible for making our own choices. 1 minute, please, Madam Timer. Thank you very much indeed. We now come to our final speaker from the community group. And this is a retired aircraft maintenance engineer and pilot with a love of learning by experience. He's a director of the Cork Environmental Forum, and he believes that to have sustainable development, we need to find our own peace and strive to understand others. His speech tonight is inspired by this line from Leonard Cohen's The Tower of Song. And I did have this actually queued up to play Leonard Cohen, but I've lost it. So I'm going to have to sing it myself. The rich have got their channels in the bedrooms of the poor, and etc. He sees humanity as one network and believes that becoming master of our own attention will set us free from the slavery of consumerism. With a speech entitled The Internet of People, please welcome Mick Kelly.
Thank you very much, Maura, and good evening all. Pluto, we've got a problem. What's the nature of your problem, Mert? It's a complex crew communications problem, Pluto. Does it impact your mission, Earth? Yes, Pluto. We have 17 goals set by the United Nations of Earth to achieve by the year 2030. And our communications problem is preventing us from making real progress on them. The speaker is mad. No one from Pluto can help. I alone must do it, but I can't do it alone. I have 3 minutes to hold your attention. Like I say, I alone must do it, but I can't do it alone. 3 minutes for us to figure out how to be the best versions of ourselves. 3 minutes to figure out how to live the next 8 years. 3 minutes to figure out how the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals fit into our lives. 3 minutes to figure out how to journey together in harmony. 3 minutes to figure out what part of the solution we are. It's time to remind ourselves of what's important and get our priorities right. It's time to ask for help. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The Sustainable Development Goals are real, folks. Let's accept reality and enjoy the sense of purpose we get from knowing that we are a critical component of this vast, elegant system. Let's have the courage to find and express our true purpose in life and make the world a better place. I've achieved my goal of being less than 3 minutes here now. So I hope that together we can all achieve the goals that we have set for the next 8 years. Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much, Mick. And I take heed that sustainable goals are real goals and all that entails. Could we have 1 minute, please, for feedback to Mick? Thank you very much, Madam Timekeeper. Before I hand over or hand back, I'd just like to thank the 4 Speechcrafters for 4 excellent speeches from people who are maybe not quite so used to speaking outside of their comfort zone. And I've enjoyed all 4 of you. This was the first time I've heard you because I've always so far been involved in another group. So thank you all. And I'll now hand you back to your Toastmaster.
Thank you, Moira. It was brilliant, actually, because I was there on week 1 and I have seen the improvement. So well done to all our Speechcrafters, Carmen, Rebecca, Mary, Mick, and thank you for leading, Moira. So thank you so much. So now we're going to have an evaluation of the community group. So as people know, evaluations is really the cornerstone of Toastmasters. It's all about listening and giving good feedback. So what I'm going to do is hand over to a very special guest, and we are very honoured to have her here. She's from the International Board of Directors of Toastmasters International. Not easy to get people from there, so thank you for being here. In Toastmasters International, her role is to develop policies, produce guidelines to fulfill the Toastmasters mission. In her other life, she's a business school lecturer at Open University. And what I'd like to do is now welcome Jean Gamester. Welcome, Jean Gamester.
Thank you so much for inviting me here today. I'm getting to hear all of these amazing speeches, and listening with an evaluator's ear is such a joy. Well, congratulations to the first group of Speechcrafters who have graduated, and I'm just so delighted for you. So I have some feedback, and also imagine me, if we were physically in the same place, handing you a certificate that will be coming to you virtually. So certificates virtually on the way. Our first speaker, Carmen Castells, beautifully started with a smile that exuded confidence. We eat 3 times a day was repeated, and it's kind of inside my blood now, which is absolutely the right thing to do. Every one of you, those repetitions were just fabulous. There was, so the phrase "we eat 3 times a day" was so strong that what I really would have loved was for you to return to that phrase right at the end. We eat 3 times a day, 3 times to make a difference, that kind of thing, Carmel. And then, or sorry, Carmen. And but you also, there were 3s everywhere, made me very happy. Your health, society, the planet, you know, 3 ways to make a difference. And the fact that you finished on a hat, that just makes me very happy. Congratulations. Rebecca, lovely. It will rain tonight. Again, the repetition there of, you know, it will rain tonight, but it's not going to rain tonight because it rained last night. Just that contrast and that power, just really beautifully done. There were, you know, there was a fabulous contrast. California and Ireland, you think one place has the challenge, but the other one doesn't have the challenge, but then the other place does have the challenge. You told us about, you know, people crying and you could do nothing. And I would love to hear one story, because the whole world can come to life inside one story, and that goes inside our blood. So tell us one story. But, you know, those rich and poignant descriptions at the end, just fabulous. Congratulations to you on your Speechcraft completion. Da, da, da. Okay, next we had Mary. So lovely, very authoritative approach. You know, your personal choices. I want you to put your thinking hats on. You know, there's no messing here. We're going to, you know, we're going to do some work. And, you know, really challenging us to think, what are our criteria? So, you know, we're on the spot, really fabulous. There was a point where there was like beach, pools and cocktails. And I was thinking, oh, lovely. And then Mary talked to us about, you know, different choices, different ways of making choices. So what I would love is for you to, again, to bring to life, what is this wonderful holiday that not only is just amazing and relaxing, the thing we deserve, but also has inside it all of those great choices. If you bring that holiday to life, going, well, why would I want to do anything else with my holiday? So just that extra level of story would be just lovely. But the ending, you know, take less, stay longer, be more sustainable, very punchy. Congratulations to you, Mary. Now, and finally, Mick. So Pluto, we have a problem. Oh, I enjoyed the beginning of your speech so much. You know, just dialogue, the story, you know, does it impact your mission? Well, just ever so slightly, yes. Thank you, Mick. That was a really enjoyable start. You had, again, that repetition. We've got 3 minutes for this, 3 minutes for this, 3 minutes, you know, 3 minutes to work out the best version of ourselves, 3 minutes to work out what what part of the solution means. So for me, so thinking back to that rhetoric trick, there were lots of things to work out in 3 minutes. So maybe pick 3 or pick 1 and go deep into that 1 and help us tease out how, you know, what is the best version of myself in this space? But bringing us to the Serenity Prayer seemed entirely appropriate, heartful ending. Huge congratulations to you as well, Mick. Well done to you and to the whole group. Well done. Back to you, Kavita.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you for that great evaluation and also the virtual presentation of the certificates. I know it's hard to do. You did a great job there. The certificates are on their way. So thank you. Thank you very much. So next on the agenda is a comfort break for 2 minutes. Do we need that to go and get a cup of tea before we move on to the next group, which will be the technology group? So we've got 4 speakers again. So we have 2 minutes on the clock if you go and get a cup of tea or whatever you need to do, and be back in 2 minutes. Thank you. I'm going to pin the timer so we can.
Colette. Colette.
Hi, Dory.
Hey, what are you asking me?
For our 4th speaker in the technology group is Mariam Asunción, and her speech will be 5 minutes long. So if you could give us green at 3, yellow at 4, and red at 5, please, Dory.
Okay, I will put that.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm like, okay, because I'm watching my clock and I've got my little setup here, and it's kind of like, oh no, what is it? And you can't see me being all gesturing. I just noticed that.
Well,
So.
it will be our 4th speaker, and I'll say 4th speaker, so you'll be aware then.
Okay.
Thank you,
Miriam. I've got her.
Okay.
I wrote it down next.
Thank
to her.
you so much, Dory.
Yeah, I've got the whole list here. So okay, 5 minutes. Got
Thank
it.
you.
Mm-hmm. And she said 2 minutes, right? All righty. I would have my camera on, but I am multitasking with several things. So now 2 minutes.
Unmute, please, Kavita.
Thank you for letting me know. Welcome back to Speechcraft and welcome back to segment 3 of the agenda. Remember I said there's 5 segments. So now the next segment is our technology group of speakers. So you're going to listen to 4 from there. One of those speeches is a little bit longer. So the person leading this, she's our next MC, and she is a very special lady, also has worked very, very hard along with all our guides. There have been 39 people who have helped us with this, and this lady has been there right from day one. She describes herself as a lifelong learner. She returned to education as a mature student, got a BA in politics and sociology whilst bringing up 3 kids. That's really tough to do. And she's also on the board of education for lifelong learners. At 50, she learned how to swim. So hats off to you. And I'm really glad now you are a lifelong learner in the sustainability space. So please welcome Colette Ainscough. Colette Ainscough, welcome.
Thank you very much, Kavita. I don't recognize myself when I hear an introduction like that. I'm thinking, is that really me? Thank you very much. It's an absolute privilege to present the next 4 speakers out of a group of 5. One of our speakers, unfortunately, isn't able to present tonight due to extenuating circumstances, but I would like to start off by applauding Muriel for the work that she has done since she joined this Speechcraft course. Okay, so let's begin. Our first speaker this evening is Roisin Hyde. Now, Roisin is a chartered architect and doctoral researcher in the field of low carbon, high performance construction materials, with a vision for a more sustainable, circular, economic, integrated design process to produce the next generation of high performance construction components. You can see and hear more about this by watching TEDx Talks YouTube channel that Roisin was involved in, and I will put the address for that in the chat in a couple of moments. With a speech title, Stop Burning Stuff, Roisin Hyde. Roisin Hyde, Stop Burning Stuff.
Thank you, Colette. We are the last generation with the power to prevent irreversible damage to our planet. We are rapidly approaching a tipping point of 1.5 degrees warming, after which our ice caps will melt, sea levels rise, ocean currents slow, and the frequency of extreme weather events such as hurricanes, heat waves, and droughts will increase dramatically. What we must do can be summed up in 3 simple words: stop burning stuff. Just 4 materials are responsible for 98% of our global CO2 emissions. The first 3, coal, oil, and gas, are obvious, but the 4th might come as a surprise: not wood or waste, but limestone for the production of Portland cement. Over 6 billion tons of it last year, enough to build 3 Great Walls of China or 1,000 Egyptian pyramids. For every ton of cement we produce through the heating, grinding, and milling of limestone, almost 1 ton of CO2 is released into our planet's atmosphere. 4.4 billion tons of it last year, equivalent to the emissions from every car in Europe, America, and China. Our current system of cement production, which relies on the take, make, and dispose linear economic model, is no longer sustainable. The construction industry is currently responsible for the consumption of 40% of virgin resources and production of 40% of global CO2 emissions and solid waste. We must move to a circular economic model of production, where the byproduct of one process becomes the input to another. Geopolymer is an inorganic polymer binder, or super cement, synthesized through the chemical activation of aluminosilicates, abundant minerals which make up 75% of our Earth's crust. Through the use of aluminosilica-rich byproduct and waste materials from foundation industries such as metal, glass, and ceramics, we can produce high-performance geopolymer binders, which are stronger, more durable, and more chemically resistant than conventional Portland cement, with up to 90% less CO2. 1 billion people live within 10 meters of current sea levels in cities such as New York, London, and Mumbai. Another 500 million in regions like California, Bangladesh, and the Arabian Peninsula, where aquifers have fallen to the lowest levels in human history. For their sake and ours, stop burning stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roisin. Timer, can we have 1 minute on the clock, please, for some feedback to Roisin? And I'd just like to say that Roisin's guide for this course was Moira O'Brien. On behalf of Roisin, I would like to say a very big thank you to Moira for helping Roisin to achieve how much he has achieved in this course. Thank you. Thank you very much, Timer. Our next speaker this evening is Marie Walsh. Marie has been a patent attorney for 30 years. Maria's technical background is in industrial chemistry and is qualified with an MBA. Marie is also a qualified Montessori teacher and ran her own Montessori school from her home many years ago. As well as Maria's action to support startup companies in developing an intellectual property strategy that works for their business, Marie is passionate about education and about developing a coaching mindset, especially in relation to resilience. With a speech title, Intellectual Property for the Circular Economy, IP for the CE, who owns what and why does it matter? Please welcome Marie Walsh.
Thank you, Colette, for that lovely introduction. Who owns what and why does it matter? Innovation is key for achieving the shared vision of a circular economy. Intellectual property rights will inevitably follow all the creative and innovative steps that are needed to get us from where we are now to where we want to be, living, making, buying and selling in a circular economy. A circular economy aims to keep materials and products in use for as long as possible. To achieve a circular economy, redesign of consumption and production systems is needed. To achieve a circular economy, creative thinking is needed. To achieve a circular economy, collaboration is needed. Let's talk about the trust that must be at the heart of that collaboration. Long-term collaboration requires a framework to support the trust relationship between collaborating partners working to achieve the circular economy vision. To any innovator, I urge you to consider your intellectual property strategy. In my 30 years of working with co-founders, 50% of them argue about who owns what. This consumes time and drains huge amount of all that wonderful collaborative energy that they came into the room to me with in the first place. Intellectual property strategy must be a foundation stone of this collaborative framework for that trust relationship and creativity to be well-founded. So there are no surprises around that troublesome question of who owns what when it comes to the intellectual property. Let's have that who owns what conversation right up front. To conclude, I will listen to the issues that are important for you in your innovation steps towards the circular economy and help you to create your intellectual property strategy. Let's talk who owns what. Thank you.
And thank you, Marie. Marie had Ram Halai as her guide for this series. Thank you, Ram, for helping Marie. Timer, can we have 1 minute on the clock, please, for some feedback to our speaker? Thank you very much, Dory. Now we're up to all but one, and that is our third speaker this evening, who is Vikrant Bakar. He is working as a senior circular economy researcher at Irish Manufacturing Research. He has a PhD in sustainability and life cycle assessment. Whilst pursuing his PhD and postdoctoral research, he was coordinating collaborative research projects between BITS Pilani in India and a technical university in Germany. Vikrant's speech theme is science-based targets. Please welcome Vikrant Bakar.
Thank you, Colette, and good evening, everyone. 1.5 degree. I think you all heard this term somewhere else. This is often used in environmental arguments about global warming, which is a reflection of human activities, particularly the industrial activities. As Gandhi said, an ounce of practice is worth more than a tons of preaching. Every organization needs to prioritize not only eco-efficient activities, but also set meaningful targets to reduce their emissions. Yes, we need to control our activities to keep the global temperature rise up to or below 2 degrees. Due to global temperature rise, the pre-industrial level CO2 emissions in the environment of 280 ppm has reached up to 420 ppm. And due to that temperature rise, we have lost 28 trillion tons of ice, which is equivalent to 100-meter thick sheet of ice covering the whole UK. So coming next on that part, we have to take an example how we can do this. So it's similar to getting a budget for development and all the regional bodies getting that budget from the government, and the government keep in mind that the regional bodies are growing and they have different needs, and without compromising the quality and effects on the environment, the bodies need to develop in their own boundaries. Similarly, science-based targets are required to be developed by all the industries to develop within their boundaries. And it is an initiative developed by Carbon Disclosure Project, United Nations Global Compact, World Resource Institute, and Worldwide Nature Fund for Nature in 2015. This initiative have already supported more than 1,000 companies to set up their targets. Recently in 2021, they have developed the net zero standard, which provides frameworks and tools to companies to achieve their net zero emission targets. To conclude my speech, global warming is partially reversible if global net emissions are reduced significantly by utilizing initiatives like science-based target. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Vikrant. I would like you to note that Vikrant had Barry Lane as a mentor for this course, and extend some gratitude to Barry for his help with Vikrant to get him to this stage. Timer, can I have 1 minute on the clock, please, for some feedback for Vikrant? Thank you, Dory. This is our fourth speech this evening, and it's a little bit longer than the previous speeches at 5 minutes. Next up, we have Maryam Asuncian. Marianne is a biologist, a consultant, an entrepreneur, and nature lover who is passionate about the circular economy and the vaporization of waste. Marianne has hands-on experience with sustainable business development projects and volunteer work related to the agro sector. She has a passion to motivate learners via a hands-on problem approach, using sustainability and agility as her framework. With a speech entitled "The Power of Changing Our Perspective," please welcome Marianne Asuncian.
Thank you, Colette. Thank you very much. Good evening. The power of changing your perspective. Sustainability is a trend, or it sums up because we use this word a lot in our conversations. Sustainability means meeting our own needs without compromising the future generation necessities. Sustainability targets the protection of natural resources, but also social equity and economic development. Sustainability lives through circular economy activities and ESG. Let me remind you, ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. With ESG, we measure how our initiatives, our actions are creating better workplaces, better communities. It's important to live in sustainability, as important as to promote how success, whatever this word means to you, how success is reached and enhanced through sustainability. I am making this comment because I was reading an article and some sentences drew my attention. For example, this one: the intersection of digital technologies and sustainability holds tremendous value for enabling a more sustainable businesses. Okay, but what happens to those businesses that are not in this intersection? To those businesses or people that are not digital enough to be described like that? This affirmation means that these people, these businesses cannot evolve, cannot become more sustainable? Wow, that is not true. Why businesses that are committed to sustainability on a daily basis are not in the news headlines? Why we citizens are not aware of these changes, these best practices in sustainability? We have very good examples out there in the market. For instance, in US, Apple or Patagonia, or Circular Amsterdam. Yes, the whole city of Amsterdam in the Netherlands, or Positivo Tecnologia in Brazil. Criticize is not the purpose of this speech, but to point out our need, the need to change our perspective. Let me give you one example to explain this comment. Deserts. Yeah, deserts are found on every continent and cover about 1/5 of Earth's land. 1/5, that is a lot. But for many people, deserts are synonym of lack, waste, desolation. But what will happen if a type of silicon material sourced by the sun could be used in some technology? Yeah, you're right. Be sure. Desert will be taken as great economic areas of interest for governments and companies. It's all about changing our perspective. It's about us making use of the situation rather than the situation making use of us. This is an extra powerful today that has that vibe of enough is enough vibration that can be turned into motivation. Depends on us. Let me remind you, this is not a competition among us. We will find the right solutions working together without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And that is our call of action. This is the moment to roll up the sleeves and take care of this matter working with what we have available And that is an amazing opportunity because we are a tech technology. And that means that everything is within our reach. Yes, it's a very creative age that goes along with brain and with creativity, but together as one force. We have a system solution framework that targets sustainability. It is called circular economy. And we also have some metrics. They are called ESG. Those that matter the most, maybe. Those metrics that are called ESG are used to know if we are heading towards sustainability. This is Miriam Asunción, circular economy designer, and this is my proposal for you today, our action. The action starts changing our perspective. Thank you.
Thank you to Miriam. Miriam's support guide for this course was Denise DC, and she would like to extend her thanks and from the Speechcrafters team too to Denise for getting Miriam this far. One other person I would like to thank as a guide for the technology group is Michael May. Michael acted as a guide to Muriel, who unfortunately couldn't speak here tonight. Can I have 1 minute on the clock, please, timer, for some feedback for Miriam? Thank you very much, Dory. And before I hand you back to our Toastmaster of the day, Kavita, I would just like to commend the technology group of speakers, how absolutely amazing I think you did tonight before you get the actual evaluation. And not only did you sound great with great content, you all absolutely looked great. So thank you again. Back to our Toastmaster of the day, Kavita Dulai.
Thank you, Colette. Thank you for expertly leading your group. Excellent. And again, I was there on week 1 and I have seen huge improvements. So well done, everybody. It's so satisfying for someone like myself, who's been helping with creating Speechcraft along with the other group, to see the improvements. It's excellent. So thank you very much. And thank you to the guides. Without you guys, this is impossible. So thank you so much for all the support. Right, so again, time for another evaluation at the end of this group. Before I hand back to our very, very special guest, I was reading her bio and I was reading her reflections on Toastmasters. And she said a lot of people join Toastmasters to increase their communication skills, to increase their leadership skills. But something that really struck a chord with me, and that's what I'm finding, this is why I've stayed with Toastmasters, is it somehow empowers you to lead complex organizations. So sometimes we end up in very complex situations, and it just so seems to give you the skill to maneuver in that space. And it's allowed her to make a complex strategic change in Toastmasters. So thank you, Jean, for sharing that. So over to you.
Thank you, Kavita. And hello, technology group. Another fantastic round of speeches. This is so much fun. So just well done to all of you, starting with Roisin, who, you know, her speech started long before her speech started, because I could see Stop Burning Stuff in the background. You know, when I heard that was the speech title, I'm going, yes. So I was very excited about that. And the fact that that phrase was repeated during the speech as well, it really reinforced that. So I will remember that speech because I had the visual and I had that repetition. And then the and then the kind of the explanation of, you know, one thing we really could stop burning. So that was really cool. So I realize I'm speaking really quickly now. My tip is to speak less quickly, to give us fewer details, and, you know, so, you know, less but more impact by going more slowly. I loved the fact that you told us about limestone. You said, you know, this is 3 Great Walls of China, 90% less CO2. So here's the detail there, really good. Marie, IP for CE, just love that. And the fact that, again, who does what is repeated throughout the speech, that was just glorious. There was a point where you were talking about the 50% of founders heartbreaking, arguing. So maybe an example of that a story where that happens. So that kind of clues us in heart-wise as well as head-wise. But head-wise, there was a huge credibility coming across when you were talking about redesign, collaboration, trusts, frameworks. So that was really excellent. So congratulations to you as your certificate wings its way across the internet. Vikrant, well done. I really like the fact that, you know, we started off with the 1.5 degree, you know, especially this week. You know, we're hearing about the 1.5 degrees, and you clued us in with that. You know, a quote from Gandhi. You know, I'm kind of thinking, okay, well, Gandhi said it must be right. So that's excellent. I would love to know what this means to you personally. Let's bring you inside this. Why does this matter? A really vivid description of the ice, 23 trillion tons. I had no idea what that was, apart from that it was big. Oh no, it's actually what covers the whole of the UK. And the fact that it tied in with your background, just glorious. Excellent work, Vikrant. Miriam, just lovely. I love the fact that, you know, this speech in particular is very accessible for people who don't know, aren't kind of into all the language and understand what it all means. What does sustainability actually mean? You know, so I think having that explanation there helps us connect. I loved the desert example, and the fact that something that could be lack could be something actually that we could make use of. I'd love to see you go deeper into that, show us an example of how this has worked or somebody who's done it. But the thing that I would like to end on is the voice, the urgency, the passion. I could see you up on a stage and everybody going, yeah, let's do it. Let's be sustainable. Let's follow Miriam. So excellent work to you and to the whole group. Excellent stuff. Can't wait for the next group. Back to you, Kavita.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we have another 2-minute comfort break. So come back for the next bit. See you in 2 minutes.
I'm happy to stay if anyone wants to do open mic for 2 minutes. I'm tweeting, actually, I should say this.
You're tweeting?
I am tweeting, yes, in the background, Dory. I put it in the chat. It's wonderful. To be honest, I'm doing more listening than tweeting, but it's all good. You have a busy enough time, Dory.
Yeah. And it's like I start that 1 minute before they even say start. It's kind of like the speaker stops. I'll give them a couple breather moments, and then boom, I'm starting that 1 minute.
Good. I did see that, Guy, and I followed you back. So thank you for following.
I don't do much tweeting. I'm gonna have to get on there and start.
Well, Moira and I have had a conversation on Twitter. I don't know if Moira's there at the minute. She had to pop out for a second, but you know, with the thing that's happening now. Oh, Annette, great. Annette is tweeting. So yeah, I'm just well, I'm capturing everyone as well. I'm trying to capture people, but I'm I'm engrossed, and I'm Zoom master as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in my brain, I'm going over different art projects because I've got a showing that's this Sunday, and it's like I've done a few sketches, but I haven't really done anything on canvas yet. And I keep going back and forth on whether the title of it is Scars. And I want to do environmental scars, like it's scars throughout time and showing the different extinction period, or showing the beached whale with plastic all over it, and a man walking away in Mother Nature there. Then I've thought about doing the one with the child in the center and having different things coming at it that call scars. And it's like, I can't choose. There's so much to be said in just one painting.
yes.
Anyway,
I don't know if I can help you.
I know. I'm gonna have to get on the Twitter though and check that out.
Yes, indeed. I don't know. Is Kavita back?
So we've had our two.
So I'm back. Sorry, didn't realize the time. I was so busy reading what was happening next. Apologies. Okay, thank you. So welcome everybody. Welcome back to segment 4 of our agenda. So we're now going to move on to the technology group. In this group, we have 5 speakers. To lead this group, we have a very special gentleman who joined Toastmasters in 2014. Initially, he joined just to learn a little bit more about public speaking, not that he wasn't a great public speaker anyway, but he passionately believes, and I believe this too, that a well-developed verbal communication, well-developed and delivered verbal communication is the most effective way of bringing change. And that's why we're here together, to develop this skill of learning and practicing this great verbal communication. He started life as an engineer, went into sales and marketing, currently is the MD for a precision engineering company in the polymer sector. So he's the best person to lead the polymer group. So please welcome John Alsthorpe.
Thank you, Kavita. Good evening, everybody. Before I start, I just want to say what a fantastic evening I've had so far. Some fantastic speeches, really inspirational and eye-opening, and lots of things to take away from the meeting already. As Kavita mentioned, I'm the host for the Polymer Group. So the Polymer Group is about, how can I describe it? It's a group of people that have an interest, a career, or really I should say a passion about plastics, but particularly realizing what's good about plastics and recognizing the challenges of plastics. So I'm sure that in this next session, we're going to learn lots about how polymer is not always a bad thing and how we can use it in the circular economy and be more responsible users of plastics. This group is an international group. We've got speakers from across Europe, and we've got guides from as far afield as America and Canada. And we've all got something in common, and that's our desire to talk about polymers and the use of polymers. We've got 5 speakers this evening. I'm going to start and introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker this evening is Patrick Rower. He is a R&D consultant in the field of polymer, colorants and additives. In this role, he's meeting with lots of developing different polymers and colorants for polymers and additives. And in particular, at the moment, he's working for a company, working alongside a company in Ireland called Delta Q, who are in fact an additives company. In this role, within this role, Patrick is creating a sustainability strategy and is developing educational seminars for the employees of the company. So his passion is all about sustainability. Specifically in the regard to sustainability, his main objective is to create sustainability roadmaps with clear scientific-based targets. Patrick's speech this evening is entitled Making a Polymer Company Sustainable. With a speech entitled Making a Polymer Company Sustainable, please join me in welcoming Patrick Rower.
Plastics are bad. Let's replace plastic materials. We hear similar strong statements every day. I don't blame the public for being confused about who is the villain and who is the victim. Plastic is usually considered the villain. The pressure on polymer manufacturers is bigger than ever, forcing large but also small companies such as Delta Q with only 35 employees to consider its environmental impact and have a sustainability strategy in place. But where to start? I'm sure you know the feeling when one is overwhelmed. If they see something spectacular, something they have difficulty comprehending, like the universe, the pyramids, or the topic of the day, sustainability. I know I was overwhelmed back in May when I talked with the management about sustainability and where our company should focus in the future. But how do you structure something as broad as sustainability? There is no clear guide for small companies such as Delta Q. Previously, I was responsible for research and development, and most of the solutions were driven by cost and customer demand. The move from R&D to sustainability required a completely different approach. Perhaps the month off when I cycled from Ireland to the Czech Republic helped me to gain new perspective and tackle the topic in a correct way. Since May, we have made tremendous progress here at Delta Q. We are now finishing preparations for ISO 14001 audit in December. We are raising awareness among the staff, reviewing our process efficiency and eco-design. We join many national and international organizations, and we are aware of our greenhouse gas emissions. On top of everything, the company was able to build new strong partnerships with other Irish polymer companies. As I found out during the project, sustainability requires strong leadership, commitment from management, and engagement of all employees. It also requires significant investment to kick off the transition right. On the other hand, if the project is done properly, the initial investment is quickly paid back, not just in terms of money, but in the employees' well-being also. Demonstrating the change at Delta Q is Managing Director Kevin Sheridan, who recently stated, "I now understand that sustainability is not just about compliance, it is about how to run the business correctly." Delta Q has changed, and so have I, because of this sustainability Speechcraft program. So I thank you to the Speechcraft organizers, and that's it. Madam.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you very much indeed. Get the sustainability message out there, and I think you're right. You highlighted three aspects and three groups that are really important in the sustainability message. Patrick's guide for this Speechcraft was Ron McTavish. So I'd like to thank Ron on behalf of Patrick for his support in getting Patrick through the Speechcraft and being able to deliver such a fantastic speech. Madam Timer, can we have 1 minute on the clock, please, to allow people to give feedback to Patrick for his speech? Oh, thank you, Dory. Our second speaker this evening is Anna Hill. Anna is the founder and CEO of River Cycleway Europe. This is an award-winning design and innovation company, which has principles of pursuing the positive disruption of urban transport sectors and offering floating as a service across Europe. Outside of work in that company, she is a keen advocate of promoting female entrepreneurs and encouraging diversity within technology and innovation. Through her work, she has become a blog contributor for the Huffington Post and a mentor for other entrepreneurs. Anna has been honoured with several accolades, including Innovate UK's In Focus Women in Innovation and the first place prize from Impact Hub Westminster's Scholarship in Clean Tech programme. So Anna is really well qualified and experienced in her topic. Anna's speech this evening is entitled Creating Green Infrastructure to Accelerate the Transition to a Circular Economy. So with a speech entitled Creating Green Infrastructure to Accelerate the Transition to a Circular Economy, please join me in welcoming Anna Hill.
Thank you, John. How do we reimagine public space and encourage more people to walk and cycle for a more sustainable future? Our mission is getting people out of cars and onto their bikes. We have designed a floating cycleway, a cycling greenway using interconnecting pontoons to rise and fall with the tides. Our solution increases cycling safety, improves air quality by reducing emissions, and adapts to rising sea levels. And because a picture is worth 100 words, and animation 1,000 frames, here's a short snippet of our animation on the River Clyde in Glasgow, thanks to Soluis. So you may ask, why is there such an urgency to decongest cities and to decarbonise our transport systems? With COP27 in focus, the science is telling us we are crossing our natural feedback loops. This means that sea level rise is accelerating far more quickly than ever predicted by scientists due to the melting of the world's ice caps. The UN reports that more than 40% of the world's population live on coasts, mostly in cities, and 90% of the world's urban areas are at high risk of climate impact. So we believe that to tackle the climate crisis, we require ambitious creativity, imagination, transformational approaches to circular design. To create a more circular economy, we have been exploring the use of recycled polymer waste to manufacture our pontoons. Our manufacturing model enables cities to both generate revenues and reuse waste, recycle and regenerate. Our customers are progressive cities, local authorities and NGOs who wish to decongest, decarbonise and adapt to climate change. So with a plug and play approach, it may be scaled and customised to cities globally. Join us in our mission to create floating as a service for a more sustainable future. Please do get in touch with us at rivercyclewayeurope.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. It's so exciting to hear about innovative ideas for the use of used plastics and polymers. And it's so important that circular economy for social benefit as well as environmental benefit. So thank you, Anna, for that great speech. Anna's guide for this session was Shanine Gill. So I'd like to thank Shanine on behalf of Anna for her support in helping Anna through this Speechcraft course. Can we have 1 minute, please, on the clock for us to offer Anna some feedback on her speech? Thank you, Dory. Our next speaker is Andrew Kenny. Now, Andrew is a recently graduated engineer. He's got an honours degree in agriculture and environmental management, and he's followed that with a master's degree in environmental resource management from the University College Dublin. Currently, Andrew is an environmental and sustainability specialist at Novoplast, where he's currently undertaking many projects, such as the installation of PV solar panels and taking lead roles in audits, such as the Global Recycling Standard and ISO 14001. Andrew's speech title is Plastics Really That Bad? With a speech entitled, Is Plastics Really That Bad? Please join me in welcoming Andrew Kenny.
Thank you very much, John. Is plastics really that bad? Is plastic really that bad? Plastic has been given a social stigma over the years for its misuse, but we ourselves are to blame. Who doesn't use plastic on a daily basis? I'm going to give you 3 reasons why plastic isn't really that bad. Water. I'm sure many of us would like to drink a refreshing, clean water from our taps. The only known material that can guarantee you this, even when it is aging, is plastic. Plastic is the current industry standard material that is used for water mains. When compared to other materials like copper, lead, and concrete, plastic stands taller than them all. Plastic in sports. Plastic has literally become a game changer in sports, pun intended, and has been the driving force behind sports safety and performance. Think about the equipment athletes use to protect them and enhance themselves. What does it all have in common? It's all made from plastic. Modern sports gear evolved as sports evolved, allowing athletes to push themselves harder. Plastics have complemented the performance while mitigating injury. Plastics are essential in the medical industry. They have cut down costs while simultaneously enhancing quality. Plastic use in medical devices have led to fewer infections, more comfort, and increased safety for the patients. To conclude, plastic has become an essential part of our life. And I hope you can view plastic as a friend and not a foe, because plastic isn't really that bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, for reminding us of all those good aspects of plastics and the, let's say, the correct use of plastics and how it's enhanced our lives in general. Andrew's guide for this session was Emmanuel Ogbona. So I'd like to thank Emmanuel on behalf of Andrew for his support through this Speechcraft sessions. Can we have 1 minute, please, on the clock for feedback direct to Andrew? Thank you.
Watch the finger on mine. It's a little snap at it.
Thank you, Dory. Our next speaker is Emma Kamar. Emma is a supply chain executive in Novell Plastics. Now, I asked Emma what her passion was, and she told me that it is breaking the stigma that plastics really is the enemy. Emma is a business development executive, and in this role is central to developing relationships with customers and nurturing the important relationships in the early parts of their relationships. Emma's speech title is Plastic is Not a Dirty Word. With a speech titled "Plastic is Not a Dirty Word," please join me in welcoming Emma.
Thank you, John, for my introduction. Plastic is not a dirty word. Plastic is not the problem. We are. 8 million pieces of plastic pollution find their way into our ocean daily. 79% of plastic waste is sent to landfills or the ocean, while only 9% is recycled. My name is Emer Kermit, and I'm a business development executive for Novoplast. We're an Irish startup company based in County Meath in Ireland. The circular economy and sustainability are at the core of our company and in everything we do. Starting production in September 2019, Novoplast have went from strength to strength. Novoplast takes thousands of tons of unusable PET materials that were bound for landfills each year and create a recycled PET pellet. We use a unique blend of recycled PET materials to create products for the food packaging and fiber industry. We also provide a tolling service by which we take our customers' production byproduct, reprocess it, and increase the quality of the pellet. This is then sent back to the customer for further use in their process. This has become increasingly popular in recent times as clients are seeing the monetary value in their waste materials. There is a value proposition to our products. EU regulation now states that there must be a certain percentage of recycled content in a product manufactured from plastic, or the company will be subject to tax on their product. This has had a very positive impact on our company and the recycling world. Single-use water cartons are among the many packaging alternatives being brought out to try to eliminate plastic. What the consumer is not aware of is that the layer on the inside of the cartons makes them much harder to recycle than a regular PET water bottle. Plastic is the best option if disposed of correctly. At Novoplast, one of our main input materials to manufacture for other industries is PET water bottles broken down into flake. If we become more educated on plastic recycling, we can change the world little by little together. Thank you.
Thank you, Amir. And it's so good to hear that plastics companies are not only involved in supplying plastics, but part of the circular economy, taking plastics back and recycling them for future use. Well done for that speech. Amir's guide for this session was Annetta Works Sally. So I'd like to thank Annetta for her support for Amir in this course. Can we have 1 minute on the clock, please, for feedback?
You got it. Okay, so what to search? Sharon.
Thank you, Dory. Our fifth and final speaker this evening is Catherine Barrett. Now, Catherine is very passionate about ocean plastics. Building on her scientific training, such as oceanography and food safety, Catherine has invested a lot of time in building her knowledge and experience in this field through courses such as the Cambridge Institute of Sustainability Leadership and 2 internationally recognized mini MBAs in marketing and branding to strategically understand communication. Her real passion, though, is in ocean plastics. In 2015, she was introduced to fishing for litter, where vessels retrieve maritime litter they encounter while fishing as a national program. This has widened in 2019 to clean oceans, plastics, and port reception facilities. Through this, she is a stakeholder in engagement of new and emerging stakeholders that have a role in changing the outcomes for the circular economy of marine plastics. In particular, those relationships for extended producer responsibility. Catherine's speech this evening is entitled, "Will an extended producer responsibility scheme work for fishing gear?" Will an extended producer responsibility scheme work for fishing gear? Please join me in welcoming Catherine Barrett.
Thank you very much, John. So indeed, will an extended producer responsibility scheme work for fishing gear? And we are trying and we are building it. But fundamentally, it's about waste management. Waste management is doing the right thing with the things that we're finished with. You put your food scraps in the compost bin. You put your washed out rigid plastic containers in the recycling. But what about the things that are a little bit more hard and they're more difficult to look after at the end of its life, like fishing gear? If they're not disposed of properly, will they damage the environment? And are they a lost resource to the circular economy? One way to improve waste management is to include the producer and the sellers into what happens after it's used. You have to extend their responsibility and think further. The company that makes the washing machine, the garage that sells you your burst tire and replaces a tire in your car, the net maker who designs a net. What happens after? Products that are difficult to dispose of need careful attention, so they're not dumped up a mountain path, or they're left behind that shed at the bottom of the garden for years, leaking into the groundwater at the back of your house, or they're not dumped at the bottom of the ocean. We need a system. We need specialist services. We need incentives. This can be done by extending the responsibility of all interested parties. Some of those are easily included, like the producer and the seller, but we also need to incentivize and extend that responsibility to the user. They're part of the circle. They're part of the return. They're part of the loop. An extended producer responsibility scheme is a compliance scheme, collaborative compliance, where the diverse members of who touch that product are drawn together, be it the toaster, the tire, or even the fishing gear. But they need to work together and reduce that environmental impact of their product, their sector, their future. Complying brings new ideas, solutions, and common ambition. Complying can bring security of that level playing field. And it needs a village, it needs an army, it needs you. Does this product have an end-of-life plan? Do I bring it back? Where do I bring it back? Do they recycle it safely? Is the seller part of a compliance scheme? Should the user be officially part of that extended producer responsibility scheme? These are now questions for fishing gear suppliers and fishers as we look to include these plastics into the circular economy and form an extended producer responsibility scheme. We're all in the same storm of sustainability and the circular economy, but by agreeing on the rules and responsibilities of all the stakeholders of an extended producer responsibility scheme, it makes sure that we're all in the same boat. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Catherine. A fantastic speech, and it really brings to mind how important everybody's role is in the circular economy, from the producers to the end users to the recycling. So thank you very much for that. Catherine's guide for this session was Sultan Corse. So thank you, Sultan, on behalf of Catherine, for your support throughout these last 6 weeks in bringing Catherine to today's fantastic speech. Before I ask for 1 minute on the clock, I'd just like to say about the speeches tonight. I started off this evening and I talked about learning what's good about plastics. And I think tonight, these 5 speeches have brought us full circle. We've learned about what's good about plastics. We've recognized the challenges of plastics. And we've also learned about some of the solutions in dealing with plastics waste. So thank you, our 5 speakers tonight, for such an insightful number of speeches. Can we have 1 minute, please, on the clock, Madam Timer, for feedback to Catherine on her speech? Thank you. Thank you, Doria. I'm now going to pass back to Kavita to introduce the next part of the session.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John, for expertly leading that group. I have learned so much. I had no idea what was going on in the polymer group, but today it's such an eye-opener. Brilliant. I've certainly changed my mindset about plastics. So thank you, Anna, Andrew, Emma, Patrick, and Catherine. Thank you so much. So we are going to welcome back Jean, our very special guest from Toastmasters International. But I want to read a little bit more about her bio, because I learn a lot from bios. One of the things she said was that initially people join Toastmasters because they just want to be confident and capable speakers. But why do they stay? Why have we got people here who have been here 20 years with Toastmasters? And her reasons, this is what she shared here. She said, just for the pure creativity of public speaking, it's that ability to express yourself and your ideas, and to develop leadership skills. And also as Toastmasters, we do develop great friendships. And the reason this Speechcraft has come together is through great friendships. And she also went on to saying, it allows us to listen and care and contribute more fully to our community through better communication. So welcome back, Jean. I hope you don't mind me keep sharing bits of your bio. It was so interesting.
No, thank you, Kavita. It's excellent. And sometimes it's very helpful to hear our words being played back. Just go, oh, yeah,
did I say that?
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you, the Polymer Group. I have to say, I could go on a 3-day conference and learn less than what I've learned in such a short period of time. It's absolutely brilliant. Okay, so Polymer Group, your virtual certificates are winging their ways to you. Amazing work. Patrick, the language, who is the villain and who is the victim? Very well, very great. I'm caught already. There was something in here. I'm always on the hunt for the heart of a speech, the thing that's going to tug me. And I wondered about that cycling journey. You know, tell us more. What did you learn on that journey that you can hook in to bits of the logic of the speech and draw me through? What I really liked was the personal side to this. You know, we got to know the company, we got to know him, we got to know the MD. So they're real people here, a real organization. So excellent work, Patrick. Well done. Anna, that animation, I was just having such a great time. It's just brilliant. You know, I love the fact that you spoke to this animation, and, you know, there was all sorts of detail about what worked behind that, you know, how it would all work. Again, looking for the heart of the story. There's all sorts of ways you can do that, but I wondered, what is the story behind this story? What was the moment when you thought this would be a really brilliant thing to do? What was the excitement in that moment? You know, can you bring that to life for us? So that's just one example, loads of ways of doing it, but I would love to know that story. But again, the language, out of our cars and onto their bikes. Yeah, great. Very good. Andrew, a very clear, structured argument here. You know, is it that bad? Well, we're to blame. Here are 3 reasons why plastics are good. So because it's such a strong argument, there's one thing that I would suggest in terms of that argument. So I'm sold on water, I'm sold on medical, I'm not so sold on sports, probably because I don't watch any. So if you say that it's about safety, then maybe I'm sold. So think about what your audience is going to be sold on. You know, finally, you know, the language, you know, are plastics real bad? Are plastics really bad? And then at the end, it's not that bad. Very good. Excellent work. Emer, lovely. Again, a similar theme to Andrew. I love the fact that a similar theme, completely different speech. Plastic is not a dirty word. Plastic's not the problem, we are. So great language. And then, you know, all of this plastic that's being used and we're only recycling 9% of it. I'm hooked. Excellent work. I like the fact that there was the story there. 2019, the company started. This is what we do. This is what we do. you know, this is an increasingly popular value proposition. I would love to know who says that and why they say that. Give us that person, bring them to life. And finally, Catherine, so I love the fact that there was a very human tone at the beginning, just as you warmed up. You know, we're trying, you know, so there's something very human about that. There are two little humans behind you in the picture, and I was wondering, are they wearing the fishing gear that we're supposed to be taking care of? So maybe introduce the little humans, just to kind of go, oh, who are they? Are they part of the speech? So that's my tip for that. I wondered about structure because I couldn't see a really, so there were really good points, but I couldn't really see a really clear structure all the way through. And I wondered, again, there's a million ways you can do it. Given that you're focusing on stakeholders, maybe there's a bit for one stakeholder, you know, for the producers, a bit for us, you know, and a bit for policymakers or whatever, that kind of gives us clear jobs to do. But again, the language, lovely, toasters, tires, even fishing gear. Such a pleasure to evaluate these speeches. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Jean, for doing so many evaluations one evening. I bet you've never done so many. That's brilliant. Well done for a great job. So this brings us on to segment 5 of this evening. So this evening, this segment 5 is all about wrapping up and more evaluations. One thing is the cornerstone of Toastmasters, these evaluations. This is the only way we get better. Only way when somebody gives you good, positive, constructive feedback, because most speakers want to get better. So now I'm going to welcome back Lisa. Lisa, who expertly evaluate Guy.
Well, that's the idea, isn't it? The art of rhetoric. My gosh, that is the stuff of thousands of years of study and thought and philosophy and volumes of books like these ones I have by Aristotle and Cicero, and the entirety of Guy Doza's life work. And somebody asked him to condense that into 7 minutes. Wow. Would you be able to tell your life's work in 7 minutes? Guy did it. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Guy, for giving us a very, very condensed version of what is the art of rhetoric. I'd like to take a look at your speech, Guy, from a couple of different points of view. Simple ones. One is content. What did you do with your content? And the other is performance. So let's start with content. Of course, the content, the structure of your speech is perfect. You use the most famous tricolon of the world: ethos, pathos, logos. Is it always in that order? That's a question. I don't know. And so you explained to us how the art of rhetoric is made up of these 3 different things, and you told us exactly what these 3 major parts of persuasion are. Fantastic. You condensed it down. It was easy to listen to. There was one little thing that was missing for me, and that was a very strong purpose statement. Because as you know better than anybody, your audience is going to be saying, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? All of these Greek words. Okay, so we needed a really strong purpose statement that I didn't get. And I think the reason for that, dear Guy, is because you suffer from the curse of knowledge. You know exactly what the purpose of all of this is. Help us by telling us. Just a few words on performance, because I believe that since Aristotle says that rhetoric is the faculty of finding the available means of persuasion, also what we do with our body is one of the means of persuasion, because that helps build our ethos. And those are things that you know very well. Your performance tonight was very relaxed and humorous, and I love that. Sometimes a little bit too relaxed. I was so glad that you stood up, but you kind of rocked back and forth. You might have been a little bit nervous because I know you're not in an easy place. You're in a hotel tonight. By the way, it was absolutely wonderful that you were able to join us, even though you're traveling. So there you have it. Perfect content, a stronger purpose statement so that we can be with you all the way through your speech, and performance that is as persuasive as your words. And your perfect speaking is going to be even perfecter. Back to you, Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you very much, Marie. Thank you so much. Great evaluation. We have another evaluation. So this evaluation is an evaluation of the whole evening. So I'm going to welcome back Jean.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Madam Toastmaster. Okay, so I have been paying attention to this session before this session started. What I noted was that actually the preparation for this session happened long before, it seems to me, the first session happened. So I'm just really impressed by the amount of preparation that was put into this right from the start. The fact that my first conversation about this session started before any of your sessions started, that's just so cool. The other thing that I would like to note is that all of the communications that I've seen both before today and during today have been so personal. It's been so connected with each individual person, and you know what's important to you, what's going on for you. It's just it's a really powerful example of really caring for the people within a community. So I feel this is my example. Next time I'm talking about what a community is like, this is what I talk about. Amazing job. So Shirley, you had me hooked from the start, and today has just been brilliant. Kavita has done an excellent job of managing quite a complex agenda and making it seem like it's just so seamless. But we're just going to do this next thing. It's like there are so many moving parts. It's amazing that you've done all of that. And I have felt very welcomed as a guest, as I'm sure everyone did as you spoke. Brilliant job by the MCs, again, taking care of each of your groups. And Dory, yes, taking care of the timing. Yeah, fantastic. Again, another outstanding piece of work, taking care of all of this. I do think it's appropriate just to quickly say congratulations to the guides. I can't say thanks to all 39 people because I don't know who they all are, but Johannes, Marilyn, Donna, Larry, Moira, Ram, Barry, Dinesh, Ron, Shanine, Emmanuel, Anetta, Sultan, you have taken amazing care of your speech crafters. Fantastic. Just a very brief word about Lisa Marie's evaluation, very highly skilled evaluation. I always try and come up with a tip. It was a bit tricky. My only suggestion was maybe vary the tone, but I have to say I was grasping at straws because the strength of the voice, the enthusiasm and the authority all wrapped up together, and the the quality of the evaluation was really excellent. The points about purpose, absolutely fabulous. So overall, a joy to evaluate. So I have to say to you that I do love Speechcraft. I love this space where people are growing their skills, they're seeing each other, that in such a short period of time, it is so easy to see how this program can help people grow. I love running Speechcraft sessions. Just like tonight, it really did teach me to evaluate at speed. 39 people helped with this, just fantastic. So amazing. Thank you to all the Toastmasters for sharing your skills. There's a huge joy in sharing, in giving back to those, so to kind of pay it forward in thanks for what we have been given. And so much learning too. I definitely know more about sustainability as a result of today. How much more I would know if I'd actually been involved in the 6 weeks, I'd just be an expert. Anyway, What's special about this Speechcraft is this common purpose, this common passion, an international group just coming together to go deep into a topic and find voices, find ways of making the argument to persuade in a world that still needs persuading, unfortunately. I'm inspired by your passion and your purpose. Toastmasters has a purpose too. Our purpose is to make effective communication a worldwide reality. When we speak, when we listen, when we think critically to evaluate, we are not just, we're not just taking things on face value. We are listening to arguments, we are creating arguments. There is here an intertwining of Toastmasters' purpose and an environmental sustainability purpose. Listening is like an art. We're not just listening to others' words, but we're listening to oceans and trees and weather and whales and birds and butterflies and ground and the air we breathe in and that we breathe out. What we hear, what we listen to is what we care about. What we care about is what we speak about. What we speak about is what we advocate. What we advocate is what we are able to change. And this is the spirit that I see here today. So when you listen to each other, can you hear how each other has grown? This growth that can not just do good for us, but do good for the world, for all of us, the human and the more than human world. Something else that I love about Speechcraft, so many Speechcrafters get to the end and they want more. They run new Speechcrafts, they create new Toastmasters Club, they help each other grow more skills so that they can continue to have an impact on the world, not just on the thing that they're passionate about, in this case, sustainability, but in developing that voice to grow more people who are passionate and who can speak about all of this. This Speechcraft maybe begets further Speechcrafts. The community grows. Today, as you come to the end of this, there's huge potential for new beginnings. Hearing more, speaking out for those whose voices are not so clearly heard, making change happen. I hope, I know you'll keep going in sustainability and in Toastmasters too, I hope, and that I hear stories of the beginnings that emerge from today. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jean. I'm not sure what else I can add to the end of that, except to say thank you. Thank you for being sort of really summarizing everything we've all been feeling. It's just been a really fantastic journey. Yes, there is more planned as in maybe another Speechcraft. We have got Earth Day planned for April 2023. We're possibly going to do a TEDx. So there is expansion, more of this to happen, because we do need more speakers. And there is no going back on that. We just need to better our voices, make them stronger, because quite often we go back and talk to our families, we talk in corporations, it's not just in this safe space. So well done, everybody. Well done to everybody who's helped. And I want to give a special thanks to Amparo, who has been starting, coming week after week after week and doing the timer role. And she's done it, just been there all the time. And that's been a case for a lot of people, but I just wanted to call that out because you weren't mentioned, Amparo, and I wanted to mention you by name. But thank you, everybody. Excellent. And I want to hand over to Shirley, who might want to say a few more words.
Thank you, Kavita, and thank you, Jean, and thank you everyone who has spoken tonight. It's just so wonderful actually to sit back and listen. And yeah, it's great to hear it. And like our plan really is to set up a sustainability polymer Toastmasters, but really I wanted to kind of initially when we were chatting, Kavita and I were chatting about doing the Speechcraft. Initially, I was thinking about the polymers, so we put it out there to various people. And and the polymers weren't coming through. And then eventually, you know, we had 15 people and we were like, how are we going to manage this? But we got such great speakers, you know, from Anthony Day in week 1, Vanette in week 2, Michael May, who's here this evening, week 3. Week 4 was Marilyn, who's also here, a wonderful guide as well. And week 5 was last week with Andrew Bennett, and Guy was just so wonderful tonight. So, and all our guest speaker evaluators as well, who I don't know off by heart, but it's been a really, you know, journey. And as Jean said, 39 people, and that's our plan really, is to kind of develop an online club for sustainability, for polymers, to move it forward. And I suppose I will finish with this, that actually the 5 people in the polymer group, we've actually, I work for IMR, Irish Manufacturing Research, along with Vikrant, and I've actually put in an application today to Enterprise Ireland to look for funding for a joint thing, a joint application. So I think there is, the triple P is here for us within this safe space. So thank you all for contributing, and it's been wonderful. And we've ran a little bit over time, but I think it was well worth it. So yeah, I'm going to hand back to Kavita. I'm going to have a glass of something. I haven't quite wondered what yet, but I'm staying on for open mic to hear and see people chatting afterwards. So over to you, Kavita, and thank you for doing a great job.
Oh, you're welcome, Shirley. It's been great working with you, and then the team, everybody really. It's been brilliant. So thank you. So with that, what I'd like to do is close the session. So you're welcome to stay in touch, watch this space. There is a lot going on, and this is a great place to do it. So thank you.
And I'm loving all the various different chat messages, and everyone's done a great job. So
thanks so much. It's absolutely, that was the most productive conversation, Shirley, that we had back in August, sitting in the lounge at IMR. Thanks so much to everybody, Kavita, Jean, everybody, and a special thanks to Ram. I don't think he's here this evening.
He's traveling as well.
He's traveling, yeah.
I'll pass it on. Yeah, no problem.
Thanks so much. I'll head off. I'll be talking to you again, and exciting next steps. Oh, I'll see you Friday evening. Actually, I'm a new member of Uncensored Speakers, branch 71.
Well, they deserve a shout out, because you know, Michael May gave us about
Michael is here, yeah,
different Speechcraft or guides, which was wonderful. So yeah,
great. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Mind yourself. I'm going to stop the recording.